Time for JesterEngine.com's Daily Tech Rundown. Welcome to Tech Current, the 5-minute deep dive where two technologists unpack the stories shaping infrastructure and innovation. I'm Speaker 1. Today we're talking about a worrying development in the Persian Gulf, reported strikes on desalination plants in Iran and Bahrain.
I'm Speaker 2. Short version, these aren't just facilities making water. They're lifelines for entire cities. Reports say multiple coastal desalination systems were hit as the conflict expanded, and analysts are calling it a serious escalation.
Let's get specific. How dependent are these countries on desalination? I saw some headline numbers that made me do a double take.
The numbers are stark. Roughly 90% of Kuwait's drinking water, about 86% in Oman, and around 70% in Saudi Arabia come from desalination. When those plants are taken offline, you don't just lose a utility. You risk public health, business continuity, and even the functioning of other industries, including oil production itself, which needs water for refining and operations.
That's a big cascade. From a tech and infrastructure perspective, what makes desalination plants so vulnerable right now?
Several factors. First, many plants sit on the coast and are physically within range of missiles and drones used in the region. Second, desalination is energy intensive and tightly coupled to electricity. If power is disrupted, so is water. Third, modern plants are increasingly digitized. Control systems, telemetry, and remote monitoring improve efficiency, but also expand the attack surface, whether through kinetic strikes or cyber intrusions.
So it's a hybrid risk, physical attack vectors and cyber operational vulnerabilities. Given that, what can operators and governments realistically do to harden these systems quickly?
Short-term, reinforce physical protection and create rapid redundancies. That can mean diversified intake and delivery networks, distributed smaller-scale plants that reduce single points of failure, and pre-positioned emergency supplies. On the cyber side, enforcing strict segmentation between operational technology and corporate IT, multi-factor authentication for remote access, and continuous monitoring for anomalies are practical first steps.
That distributed model, smaller plants instead of few giant ones, sounds like a lesson borrowed from cloud architecture. Less single-point risk, easier to isolate failures.
Exactly. It's resilience by decentralization. There's also room for temporary measures like mobile desalination units, modular reverse osmosis containers that can be flown or shipped in during crises. Not a long-term solution, but crucial for emergency relief.
You mentioned energy coupling. If missiles and drones are also hitting oil and gas infrastructure, that's a double whammy. Any tech fixes there?
One immediate approach is ensuring backup power diversity. Dedicated microgrids for critical water infrastructure, on-site renewables paired with battery storage, and hardened fuel supplies for generators. Longer term, decoupling water production from fossil fuels with more resilient renewables plus storage designs would help, but that's a multi-year transition.
For listeners who work in monitoring and sensing tech, are there opportunities for quicker detection and warning systems?
Definitely. Satellite SAR and electro-optical imagery can detect damage and outages quickly. Remote sensors on intake lines and pressure grids can signal disruptions. Combining those feeds with AI-driven anomaly detection can give operators and civil authorities faster situational awareness to trigger evacuations or reroute supplies.
Sounds like a job for cross-domain collaboration, defense, utilities, remote sensing companies, and humanitarian groups. Any geopolitical takeaways for technologists who follow the space sector or industrial control systems?
The biggest takeaway is that infrastructure security is now national security writ large. Tech folks need to think beyond software bugs and into how systems behave under kinetic stress. Partnerships with local operators, standards for emergency interoperability, and open channels for threat intelligence will be essential.
Before we wrap, a practical question. For employees at companies with Gulf operations, what should they be watching for day to day?
Watch official advisories, monitor supply chain alerts for water-dependent processes, and test your disaster recovery plans assuming water scarcity scenarios. If you're on the engineering side, run tabletop exercises that include both cyber compromises and physical outages. The combination is what's most dangerous.
Tough situation, but clear steps to improve resilience. And a reminder to our listeners, technology can help mitigate human suffering, but it's also a target. We should treat critical infrastructure like the critical priority it is.
Agreed. Quick, somber, and actionable. And if anyone's wondering, yes, bring your own water bottle is suddenly sound corporate policy, and that's not a joke.
That's our 5-minute update. Sources for this segment include reporting from major outlets documenting the attacks and analyses on regional water dependence. We'll keep following developments and the tech responses. I'm Speaker 1.
I'm Speaker 2. Thanks for listening to Tech Current. Stay curious and stay resilient. The preceding audio summary was created at jesterengine.com, where you can find and verify the original sources.